I want to get a couple of questions in before the finish, and one is the what you'd expect, the outlook for 2012, which is a standard question, but again, people are looking at a higher growth in these IIF, and they may see lower growth in 2011, but see higher growth in 2012. Is that valid, and how do you guys see growth in the economy and also the banking sector in 2012 going forward?
I think if we have in Lebanon a political stability during the remaining period of 2011 and during 2012, I think we will resume again a growth rate, economic growth rate of maybe around 4%, if not more. Because the demand component, domestic and regional, will be there. So, and it is not just an organic growth in Lebanon. We are determined by the regional situation, and I think we will have in 2012 much better economic growth rate.
On the background maybe of a persisting important output gap in Lebanon, which is estimated at close to 25%, despite the sustained high growth rates achieved over the last 3 years, averaging 8% per annum. So filling a gap, an existing gap, is much easier than adding organic growth. But provided that the ingredients are there, and there is too many ingredients to be there altogether, see?
Right.
I mean, I agree with both Freddie and Makram that potentially we can have a good year in 2012. But there are a lot of Lebanese political and regional political uncertainties. And because of that, in Byblos Bank, we are being very cautious in terms of our lending policy, and we are very cautious in terms of our liquidity. We are very liquid, and we are adopting a wait-and-see attitude. But potentially, yes, you can have a phenomenal 2012 if things beyond our control happen.
Although 2012 could be a very difficult year for the world.
Difficult for the world, indeed. Difficult for the world. Perhaps one final question, which, since we've mentioned the world, talking about, I spend a lot of my time trying to talk about Basel III and all these other good things, and being in China and seeing them say 12.5% capital adequacy is fine, and they can implement it, which is the interesting part. How do you guys see the international global situation outside of the Middle East problems, if you like, and how do you see a resolution of issues, perhaps even the Greece, the Euro issues, and how that's impacting on Lebanon and the region? The non-Middle East and also those capital issues that I started with.
I think for Basel III, we just had a few meetings with the European Banking Federation and the French banking and the Italian one. I think the debate today, the hard part of the Basel III debate concerns not to reach the 7% in 2019, but the liquidity ratios, the short-term liquidity ratio and the long-term liquidity ratio. And I think the European banks today are fighting hardly with Basel III to against this two ratios. This is one aspect. The other aspect, there are many differences between the European approach to Basel III and the American one. And the financial commissioner, Mr. Barnier, Michel Barnier, wrote a letter to his counterpart in the United States, asking him, urging him to accept and to start to implement Basel III. So all the debate about Basel III is not really clear until now for us, because we decided in Lebanon, as banking industry and as a regulator, we decided to implement seriously Basel III, and it is not hard for us to implement it. We have the liquidity, the required liquidity. We have already a good capital ratio adequacy, capital adequacy ratios. We have already a stable deposit base, etc. So it is not really, but we don't know what will be exactly the international standard to be implemented.
If you look year on year, I mean, a year ago, the banking sector, the capital, the equity of the banking sector was around 8.4, 8.5. Now we are close to 10.4, 10.5. There's an increase of 22% of the capital of banks in Lebanon. Maybe this was the highest increase in any item of the balance sheet is the equity. And the size of capital compared to the assets is increasing also significantly. Banks in Lebanon relatively are well capitalized, and most of the major banks are above the Basel III requirement in terms of equity. Liquidity, the central bank in Lebanon has long time also forced us to have a high level of liquidity. We have to have 15% of our deposits with the central bank as liquid. Over and above that, most of the Lebanese banks also, they have internal requirement to have a high percentage of liquidity with foreign banks. So really, the Lebanese banks are highly liquid, they are well capitalized, and we are ready for the Basel III.
I think on that note, a positive note too, it's a good note to end on. So I would like to thank you on behalf of the banker and the sponsors too, which are Bank Audi, Bank Blom, and França Bank. So on behalf of everybody, we'd like to thank you for your attendance, and very interesting it has been too. And again, it's important to get that message across to the outside world that Lebanon is different and has different perspectives. And these things are important for me to understand and important for our viewers and readers to understand too. So I'm very grateful for your comments today, and they've been most enlightening. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.